Talks. I'm your host, Tanya Ricketts, and tonight we have joining us our I'm going to call her our ongoing, my co-host, Teresa Simpatico, returning guest, Teresa Simpatico. And, Teresa and I just continue to have our mind-blowing conversations offline. And I'm very, very grateful that Teresa is able to give us her time really just to share the continued offline conversations with you here in your homes. So Teresa, thank you for being here with us this evening.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so glad to be back and so happy to be here.
Thank you. And so we're going to be talking tonight about meditation. And Teresa does such powerful meditations. She has walked me through a few meditations in a sister circle group that we were participating in. And they're just so deep, amazing. You feel it to your core. You come out just feeling I was feeling words are not going to express how you feel. So I thought, hey, it'd be really cool if Teresa was able to invite us into that process that I had the opportunity to experience. So Teresa, I'm going to hand the platform over to you. So thank you guys for tuning in. Enjoy the show. And Teresa, we're all yours.
Thanks so much, Tanya. I'm so happy, like I said, to be here. Meditation has been part of my life for the better part of 8 years. I'm glad that I found it and wish that I had found it sooner. But I want to first start, for me, I feel that breathing is the cornerstone of meditation. So I want to take you through sort of a mindful breathing meditation. It doesn't take anything. So we're just going to sit here, and this is what I want you to do. So I want you to first observe your breath as you take it in through your nostrils. So in through your nose. I want you to hold it for 4 seconds. I want you to breathe out for 4 seconds. And then hold for 4 seconds. So that's a count of 16 seconds. So again, we're going to breathe in through our nose for 4 seconds. Hold for 4 seconds. Breathe out for 4 seconds and hold for 4 seconds. It's as simple as that. I don't know how that makes you feel, but I can tell you, I learned that from someone by the name of David G. You can continue to breathe as you listen to where this came from. His website is davidg.com. He was part of the Chopra Center when I started my journey and started practicing meditation. And when I read this, I just thought it was wonderful, because anytime you are in a state of fight and flight, you know that you're stressed, or it could just be you're in the car and you're in traffic and you need to get somewhere, and you know that overwhelming feeling like it takes over your body and that stress. If you do this and you do it for 16 seconds, it just takes you to a place of calm.
Yes.
And it just allows you to come back to yourself and realize that what you're going through at that moment is not that important. I think David G, I read, calls it 16 seconds of bliss or something.
Okay.
So I thought that was really cool. So I really use this a lot. I do it even when, our children are arguing or I'm frustrated about something. I sit there and I breathe for 16 seconds and I feel like new life. Okay, so I'm back to myself. It's almost like a grounding experience.
It's funny because when we're breathing, and I will say to you, I just had this conversation with you offline, that I found these days I haven't been breathing and I'm gasping for air because my body's not breathing for whatever is going on, and my body's speaking to me. And they say that when we're not breathing, we're having a hard time taking in life in that moment. And in that moment, when we allow ourselves to breathe, we allow ourselves to take in life, to process life. And then once we can do that, then we're calm. Is there any validity to that?
Absolutely. I mean, breathing, number one, if you just sit and breathe, it brings down your heart rate. It drops your blood pressure. Yeah, there's so many benefits. It's very calming to actually take breaths because it drops your heart rate. If you have an elevated heart rate and if you're stressed or anxious or, any of those things, then those things can elevate the heart, and it's not good for you, right?
Right.
It puts first of all, does not put your mind at ease. Your mind is always like running and doing things, and we're always here and never in here,
Right.
right? So this is really just like a simple, I wouldn't call this, it's a mindful meditation practice, because there's mindfulness and meditation, and they're very similar and they go hand in hand. I believe they do. But I want to take you back to how I started my journey and some interesting things that we've talked about offline recently. And so, I was about 39, I think, and I thought, who's Deepak Chopra, right? I heard so much about him, and he was coming to Toronto to do a live conference. It was only a 2-hour conference, and I thought, oh, this is something that I really want to do. And I don't know what drew me to that particular event, but I decided to go. And that was the first time that I had ever meditated. So I was sitting there up near the front, and we did this meditation that was a few minutes long. And he had us, when we were quiet enough or just sitting there and breathing, he had us touch the tips of our fingers and feel our own heartbeat. I was so moved by those few minutes that I was like, wow, I felt so great in those few minutes. I thought, what more can come of this? So that's when I went on the journey of becoming a certified meditation instructor through the Chopra Center.
Was it that feeling of, I'd never felt my fingertips before? Because I know there's moments in my life where I'm like, I didn't even know that sensation existed in my body, because you're so on the go that we lose touch with being in touch with our own selves, physically, mentally, and emotionally.
Absolutely. That was part of it. It was how I felt in that moment, the calm and the peace that I felt in that moment. There were other things that were said during that conference that I found very intriguing, and I wanted to learn more. But it was that specific moment that led me on a path to, what do I do next? And the next step was a yoga and meditation retreat with the Chopra Center. And it was in Whistler, and it was in a beautiful location. And it was extremely powerful, because it was a room, I can't remember exactly how many people, 400 to 500 people, a lot. And the power of meditating together is unbelievable. It's almost like a raised frequency. It's like if everybody's doing it, it's like we're passing it on, the energy to another.
Yes.
And it was just incredible. So like I said, so I went and I did that and started my meditation practice. And to be completely honest, my meditation practice has weaned and waned over the years and changed. So I went through all the courses. I became a certified meditation instructor. Through the Chopra Center, they do what's called primordial sound meditation, which is mantra based, but the mantra is specific to a frequency and a vibration that the earth was making when you were born, which is really cool, because they say it's innate. It's something that your body knows. There's 108 of them, and they're determined by the time and date of your birth. Oh. And so, which is really cool.
So what do you do? Find the one that you were born, the mantra?
Yes.
Okay.
Right. So there's a process in learning it, and in giving it, there's special instruction.
And what does it help you do? Like, okay, so if, mine, let's just say for the month of July, I'm born in July, and I've got that mantra that I say through that meditation. What is that supposed to help me do?
Bring you back to self. So the idea for meditation is, that's what I want to say. Mindfulness for me is outward. Meditation is inward. They do combine, because breathing is sort of inward and outward, and being present is both as well. But when you're meditating, for me, and sitting, I feel like it's going to who you truly are, your true self, right? So the practice of mantra based, it doesn't have to be primordial sound. That's just the specific one that is taught through the Chopra Center and that I learned. They also do other mantra based stuff. A mantra could be just repeating the word love to yourself, or right. I love myself, or I am enough, or any affirmation that you want to create for yourself at that present moment. You can close your eyes and say it to yourself in your mind, and keep repeating it, even though your mind wanders with thoughts. So it's just a different type of mantra-based meditation.
So the mindfulness and the meditation, completely different. One keeps you aware of the internal, external kind of simultaneously. And then the meditation really keeps you on an inward spirit where you're getting more in touch with thyself.
That's how I see it, and that's how
Okay.
I have found it, right?
Right.
Because a mindfulness practice is real for me, is equally as important as a meditation practice, because mindfulness can happen anytime, anywhere, with everything that we are doing. And all it is becoming present in the moment. And I think we had this
Mm.
conversation either today or yesterday, and I was saying to you, like, often we even, unfortunately, like, we'll have a conversation with someone and we already know what we're going to say
Yes.
before they're even done. So you're not even present in conversations because we're already thinking ahead. Part of the thing that, one of the things that I also mentioned to you was, I remember Deepak on stage saying, people are always sleeping. And I was like, interesting, because we're always either living in the past or in the future, but we're rarely present. So he called it sleeping, because you're daydreaming about the future, or you're dreaming about the past. And I was very interested in that specific statement by him, because I recognized it in myself. I was
Mm.
really in the past. I was going through a major transition in my life too. It was just before I separated from my ex-husband, and it was a toxic relationship, and I was ready to, I needed something more. And the other thing, I felt lost in life, right? Because I had felt that I mean, if anyone has watched some of the shows or some of the things that I've talked about, I just felt lost in myself. Like, I didn't know who I was. I had lost my voice. And really, that going to that first yoga and meditation, that first conference was amazing. But then the first yoga and meditation retreat was just phenomenal, because that's where I started looking inside. And
Mm.
meditation, the practice of meditation for me, even though mindfulness is really important, like I said, because you can do it anytime and it brings you to the present moment.
Right.
I feel like meditation brought me to help me find myself.
Mm.
And I don't think I would have without it,
Right.
because I can be present, but that didn't bring the feeling of who I am to myself.
Right. I could see that. I could totally. And it makes me, like, even hearing you say that, it makes me want to spend time, because I'm a big supporter of know thyself. And it
Yeah.
makes me say, okay, well, if that's what I got to do to know myself, then let's start meditating.
Well, it's amazing. I mean, I learned something called what they used to call is the gap. So that was a space between your thoughts
Right.
where you can identify your true self. Not an easy place to get to. Got there several times. And it comes with a regular meditation practice, right? So, but I can tell you that I did get there. So part of the thing with meditating that I learned, and I want to say about what I learned, and then over time, how that has also changed for me as well, because I think it's really important. I think meditation, I don't want to say it's taken too seriously, but I think that people feel like you need to be able to, like, get rid of your thoughts. And a lot of people say they can't meditate because I think too much. I mean, the average
That was
person has
me.
right, but the average person has 40 to 60,000 thoughts a day or something like that. It's really high.
Mhm.
So when you're quiet, what do you expect? Of course, you're going to hear the thoughts. We don't hear them all the time because we're doing things, but when you're quiet, you're going to hear them. The idea is, though, that there's a gap. So you're thinking and then it stops, and there's a gap, a space that gives you complete calm and peace that allows you to go inside. And that was the idea of it. So
That makes
that's
sense. So it's like it's a bridge between, that gap is the bridge between the noise and the silence of thyself,
right, right.
or like that, okay, that makes sense. So it's like if we put it in three compartments, so to speak.
I like that. Yeah, you
You
could do that
start
for
out,
sure.
in the outer space to get to the emptying in order to open the door to thyself. And then you can start to explore yourself once you've crossed over the gap. I kind of like that. That's
Right.
That's my methodical thinking there.
I like that. No, I think that's great. I think that's a great way of looking at it, right? And the really important thing for me, and so I learned this primordial sound meditation. And for me, because it was what I learned at first, it was, for me, it was the be all and end all, like, oh my goodness, this is great. And I became certified in it and how to teach it. And then I realized that after going to other workshops and talking to other people, there's so many different meditations that work for people. So there's not one size fits all for meditation. For some people, it's really difficult to do it 20 minutes in the morning and 20 minutes at night, which is the suggestion of a lot of gurus. But I mean, I feel like a minute in meditation or 5 minutes in meditation or 20 minutes in meditation, they all matter, right? So it's finding any time to do it. And, a lot of the time we had this conversation, don't do it on a full stomach, or don't do it lying down because you'll fall asleep. And there's because a lot of traditional meditation is in the seated upright position, right? Back straight, and palms up or palms down. But I feel like that's not as important as finding time to be silent, no matter how you find that time and no matter how you do it. Like there are mantra-based meditations, there are breathing-based meditations, there are visualization meditations, there are walking meditations, and the list just goes on, right? There's guided meditations, which are really powerful.
So it's really finding, and I always say it's like there's many roads to healing, whatever that is, whether you're healing cancer, there's many roads, and it's picking the one that you're in alignment with, and then your body will truly be on a successful path to recovery. But when we're doing all the different ones and we're not sure where we're aligned with, we kind of go nowhere. So I'm kind of hearing the same thing with meditation, is that there are many different meditations that probably will change throughout the course of your life. Am I hearing that correctly?
Exactly.
It's just finding the one in the moment that you're resonating with and really allowing that to take root and seed in who you are and in that moment, and then and just seeing where it goes.
It really, yeah, no, you're absolutely right. That I think is really important, right? Because I think when there's so much pressure to do it one way, then what's the point of doing it, to be honest? I don't feel like we should be pressured to be doing something that doesn't feel right. If it doesn't feel right, it doesn't feel right for a reason, right? And it doesn't matter what that reason is. So it's finding your comfort in meditation. What is it that works for you? And honestly, there are so many. I mean, I mentioned David G. You can go to davidg.com. He's got free meditations. Chopra has free meditations. Dr. Joe Dispenza. We can go to some of the ones that I traditionally use for meditation, but there are just so many out there. Find one that works for you. And if nothing else, and you sit and close your eyes and breathe, and we're going to do at the end of this, we're just going to do a quick breathing meditation that I can walk you through, that you can do anytime. But if you need to hear someone to guide you, there's a wealth of information out there and so many different people.
So we would love to see you do a meditation.
And I will, but I'm just saying that it's just, so I don't want people to be afraid of it, because it really does for me, and the benefits to me were astounding. I felt a sense of peace and calm in the decisions I was making. I was making some really tough decisions. And I found that by meditating and, using those tools, that helped me through those decisions, because I was allowed to be calm. And in that calm and in that space, I could see what really was important to me and who I was as an individual, not who people told I was. And I really found that space to be important. And I think that if people choose to meditate, I think that I don't think that there can be a negative effect. Often if you're quiet with your thoughts, sometimes those thoughts can be pretty powerful. Like I've had some pretty powerful meditations where I came out crying because I had these thoughts. So it wasn't all peaches, but you have to be kind with yourself when you're doing this sort of process, because things will come up and you have to be gentle with those things, right? And so sometimes it was releasing things that I had known for so long and it was time to let go of,
Right.
right? And I found that in my meditation. So there was
So
some
when
powerful
we're looking
moments.
at meditation, where let's just say let's go back a little bit, where we're looking at the three compartments of how we clear the mind to get to thyself. But then we have you mentioned mantra based, affirmation based meditations. What are those generally used for? Like when somebody is finding one that's best for them in that moment of their life, what what would that look like? When would somebody use an affirmation or a mantra base versus just a
Breathing.
breathing base?
It's a choice. It's something that, so when you're breathing, what you're doing is like I said, all you're doing is following your breath, right? So as you have a thought, and we'll do this later, like I said, but as you have a thought, you will return you will return to your breath and how that feels. So that takes over the thought. So you sort of let the thought gently go. Mantra is the same. So for example, if my mantra, if I wanted it to be peace and love, for example, every time I have a thought in my mind, I will replace the thought with peace and love.
Hmm.
So I will repeat it. So it's sort of a repetitive thing like your breath. So now you're repeating peace and love in your mind. So that will, it's not to replace the thought because the thought will come and go, but it's to sort of bring you back to something that's more powerful than the thought.
Does that move you to a place of, because as you're saying it, what the feeling that's being invoked in me and coming up for me, even as you're saying it, is gratitude and love. And does that, have you found that that emerges out of the state of meditation?
Absolutely. So that's another thing. Meditation for me carries through the rest of your life. It brings you to a sense of self calm, and I feel like things don't bother you as much. That's just a personal experience. I found that when, like I've said, and I've been very honest, that I've weaned and waned in my meditation too. There's times that I don't. I don't find that I'm that same person. I don't find that I'm as calm. I don't find that I see things from a different perspective. And I find when I am meditating, I feel like I can see things in things don't matter as much. Things that would typically matter or upset me or, frustrate me don't.
Well, it's interesting because if we take it now to a scientific level, and I'm just making this up for anybody watching, there's no truth to this. I'm going on just everything that I've studied scientifically, body, mind, and spirit. And what I'm hearing in this whole meditation process is, it's invoking in me. I can already feel the sense of that calmness, that gratitude, that love, that meditative state, that emptiness, taking it to thyself, and now incorporating into it, it's slowing your heart rate down. So you can, yes, it's going to help you change perspective, be at a different place because your heart rate is slower. Your mind is slowed down. You're
Yeah,
more aware. You can process things from a
differently.
right. You're on a different frequency processing it versus processing it in the state of we're not breathing. We're anxious, our heart rate is up, we're fight or flight, we're reactionary, we're sensitive, we're taking it personal. Like all these things
Yeah.
emerge when we're not in that state of that intentional meditative place.
In a place of calm, in a place of knowing what really matters.
Right. And
Right.
breathing.
And breathe. Yeah, exactly. So I find that meditation is really important. But like I said, the mindfulness part of it is really important too. I mean, we are never, I shouldn't say never, because I would say rarely for most of us, unless you have a mindfulness practice. But when is it that we are truly present? In our conversations, in what we're doing. Like when we wash dishes, we just rush through the dishes. Are we like feeling the soap on our hands? What do we feel like? Like, when are we truly present? And like I said, and even when we wake up in the morning, right? Like, think about what we do. I think we've talked about this before. Our minds are like racing the minute we get up. What do we have to do? Well, you do the typical things because they're habitual, right? So you go to the bathroom, you pee, you do what you have to do. Like, you get up, you shower, but then you have things that you're always like, it's go, go, go. What do I have to do next? I have to work. I have to do this. And very seldom are we present in those moments.
It's interesting that you say that because it has taken a lot of discipline for me personally. From the minute my husband walks out the door, I go into my own little, the rest of the household is sleeping, he's off to work, and I go into my own state of meditation. And it wasn't that easy in the beginning. And I think it was more reflective of we're not used to depositing into ourselves first and taking care of ourselves. So it was easy for me, as you say, like it's easy to be on autopilot, to go to the bathroom, brush your teeth, to start getting lunches ready, breakfast ready, the family ready, but
Yep.
yourself, to get yourself in that state to be able to put your own oxygen mask almost, so to speak. It was a practice for me to go into that. I'm going to go into my meditative state or journaling or whatever that was. And I don't know if journaling is meditative, so I'll let you answer that
Absolutely.
question.
Absolutely it is. So is painting. Painting is meditative. Journaling is meditative because you're releasing thoughts. More of a mindful meditation practice, I would say, in my opinion. And so is visualization. Like you can look at a flower and meditate on the flower and feel what that feels to you. And what does that invoke in you? Like, what does that make you feel like? It could be anything. So that's my point. Like, don't get me wrong, the mantra based, and I'm going to tell you that I can teach primordial sound meditation, and I have. And I taught someone who was diabetic, and without doing anything over the course, I believe it was over a course of a week, her numbers went down. Her sugar levels went down naturally without doing anything extra. So I feel like just that in itself was really eye-opening for me, right? How does that happen? Well, obviously, the mind is so powerful with the body. The connection is so
Yes.
powerful. And so for that to happen, and for someone to say, hey, you'll never believe what happened. I was shocked. I know how good it made me feel. But medically, because I don't think I'd ever been through I'd been through things, but I wasn't meditating at the time. But for someone to say that, I was shocked, and I was flabbergasted. I was like, that's incredible. So we know that the mind and being calm is really good for the body. So we know that it has a physical effect, right?
It's interesting that, and I realize I use the word interesting a lot. When I do journaling, it's funny that when I'm writing down things that I'm having a hard time processing, or that I'm like having a big aha moment, I have to stop and catch my breath. And I'm aware in that moment that I'm not breathing. And I feel to myself, and I mean, I haven't done it yet, transparency, but it's been a thought on my mind in the last few weeks that for 2021, my big focus and goal will be to incorporate breathing time to learn how to breathe.
Just breathe.
Yes.
I mean, we said this in our sister circles. I don't know if you recall that, but it was just breathe. Like it's so important that we, even if it's just walk away from whatever you're doing. I mean, sit in a spot or stand in a spot or go outside and just take a few minutes to breathe. And what does that feel like? And let everything else disappear in that moment. Just follow your breath.
Right.
That's the breath of life.
And it helps you clear. Like when you talked about meditation, it does that gap. It helps you get to that gap faster because you're breathing. You're moving. And our daughters are gymnasts. And I know that when my girls were going through things, I would say, just breathe. If you're on the equipment, breathe in between skills. Just breathe. And the minute you breathe, you're saying unconsciously that you trust your body to do what it has to do through those skills. And I thought, well, why am I not practicing that myself? But I'm preaching.
Well, I mean, it's such a natural process that we do all the time, but do we ever pay attention to it? It's one of the vital things in our life, and our heartbeats, like just the power of the heartbeat in your finger, like, and to feel that if you close your eyes and touch your fingers and just feel your heartbeat, that's survival. That's what's keeping us that's our heart. I don't know. I just closed my eyes and I could see a heart, which is really weird, but I could see an image of a heart. Weird, oddly enough, how that happened. But if you just feel the pulsing of your fingers, our bodies, our human existence is miraculous. The way our bodies work and function and the correlation between the mind and the body is just incredible. I think it's more like, I mean, meditation has been around for centuries. It's not like it's anything new. But I think people are starting to realize how important the connection is between mind and body.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yes.
So yeah, I think
I'm going to touch up on this only because, and then when you talk about mind and body and we talk about creation, so Teresa and I often have conversations about creation, and Teresa always comes back to me and she says, Tanya, it's all about meditation. It's all meditation. That's where the creation process is happening. So, I think that is a whole topic.
I want to explain that a little, actually.
Yeah.
Can I touch on that?
Absolutely. I'd love you to.
Yeah. So what I feel like, and I mean, this is the practice of Dr. Joe Dispenza, to be honest. Not last year, the year before, I decided to fly out to Sedona to go see Dr. Joe Dispenza because I had heard some of his podcasts and I was like, I need to see who this person is because he's really resonating with me. I was lucky enough to be able to do something like that. And I went down and what I really learned and what he described was incredible because, and this is where I get this from. And he has been my biggest realization in all of this was he drew a picture. And then he had all these things coming off of like us, right? And our thoughts and what are we thinking about? And we just kept adding and adding and adding. And he's like, well, where do you have space to create? If you're always thinking of everything else, where are you creating? So obviously, I mean, his thing too is meditation, right? He's got some very powerful meditations. And I truly believe that because I feel like when I'm go and running, there's no time to create. What are you creating? How can you be creative if you're not allowing any space for that? When you're quiet and still, you can create. You can see things, you can hear things differently. You can feel like, what is it that you really want? Right.
And Brian Scott, coupled with Joe Dispenza, Brian Scott, you can YouTube him, both Joe Dispenza and Brian Scott. They go through, Brian Scott has a lot of 8-hour meditative stuff on YouTube that are very powerful. If anybody's interested and wants a resource to go to, Joe Dispenza and Brian Scott.
Yeah. There's this, it's really interesting. And I wanted to go to, now I've got something in my throat.
Good? Okay.
Okay, I'm good. So I actually wanted to do, Dr. Joe Dispenza was supposed to come to Toronto
in September,
August, September, which never came to fruition, unfortunately, because I was waiting and really excited to go because what we've heard is that people have actually transformed and healed during these specific retreats. And I'm very intrigued by how powerful the mind is. Mm-hmm. So that also leads me to, why mindfulness is so important, right? How can you be present, even in enjoyment? Like, how can you enjoy life if you can't for a moment be present in the space that you're in? And I'm a culprit of this too. And we all do it. We'll be sitting with our significant other and there I go, I'm on my phone and no longer am I present in that moment because something came up and now so we all do this. We do it with our families, we do it with our friends, we do it at work, but to be truly present in conversation. I feel like I am more truly present, especially when I'm having conversations with you, like we talk often and I feel like we're very present in our conversations.
Yes.
I feel like that I'm bringing more presence to my own life by doing that. And I feel more calm.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I feel more sense of calm. So I think that's really important.
But I'm sure that as you started meditating and you went into thyself, you could hear Teresa more. And the more you heard Teresa, people would start showing up in your life that would hear you because
synchronicities are incredible.
Aren't they?
They are incredible. When you start, I don't know why, and I can't explain it. But I did find myself, and I don't know if you want to call it synchronicities. Some people may call it coincidence. I don't believe anything is a coincidence, but
And
some
some
people
people
may
call it
say
you're the
that.
creator of your reality too, right?
Creator of your reality. There's so many different ways we can term it. But I feel like there's synchronicities. I mean, it's just simple things like, yesterday I had to deliver something to Pure Later to send something back. And I was going to Michael's and I was breathing and I was like, so then I look up Michael's. I was like, oh, where's the nearest Pure Later? Well, it's the same Michael's I'm going to. I was like, oh, that's so nice. That just made me feel at peace, just small things. But there are major synchronicities too that have happened in my life. How about meeting you again,
Right.
at the gym? How that was a
So the
complete
story is
coincidence.
Teresa and I went to high school together. Years later, we met up in a Walmart. Then we had a little bit of a distance in between, our own gap in between. So we had two major gaps. And then all of a sudden, we ended up at the same gym club all over again. And by that point, we were like, okay, listen, the universe is telling us something. God is speaking to us. We're talking the same language. And it was nice to be able to be with you and just be open that we weren't planning. We weren't thinking about what that was going to look like. We just knew that there was a purpose. We were
Absolutely.
open to it and we were going to allow it to birth itself organically. And now here we are today on Tanya Talks.
It's really crazy how that happened, but I
Yes.
really believe it was a synchronicity. I believe that we were meant to have these deep conversations.
Yes.
One, because they're powerful and they've helped us evolve ourselves, right?
Yes.
And learning from one another. But just because I feel like there was a greater good to all of it.
Yes.
And so there's a lot of synchronicities that happen when you're in a different space. I can't explain. I don't know why.
Well,
right?
meditation,
Like
I found it opens you up
it's like
to
manifesting and creation. I mean, that's a whole nother show on
topic,
itself.
right?
Yeah, we can't even go there because I mean, about my manifesting and
Yes.
being the creator of my thoughts and all
Yes.
this other things of my own life. And like I said, that would be an entire new show. But
the whole idea of the whole meditative process is that when you're knowing thyself, it actually opens you up to invite that goodness to start to move towards you in your life and to start showing up.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I don't remember his name. I think the book is called The Tethered Soul.
I don't know that one.
He was the founder of MD, some WebMD or something, WebXMD. It's something online. And in his book, he talked about, he became a billionaire and he talked about he never lost sight of his meditative practice. No matter what happened in his life, he ensured that he could sit in meditation for 5 hours, built up over time of years and years. But that was just a way of life. Like nothing was going to interfere. And every time he went into a meditative state, anything that he needed just showed up. And it was literally, he just said it just showed up. And I thought, wow, isn't that amazing? Our bodies know what it requires if we allow it to be in that meditative space.
In that quiet space.
Yes.
And that's it. That's my point. And when you take all of these things that we've learned, right? And like I said, it just, that there's this quiet space that allows you the time to create. That's why I always say that you can't create without quiet. How do you create? Even if you're if you're a writer and you're writing a book, I don't know, I've never written a book, but I'm assuming you need quiet space and time to write that book. You're not going to do it in the midst of distractions.
Right.
Right. So what are we writing? Let's write our own book. So that's the way I see it. Right.
Well, this whole talk was created out of a quarantine.
Right? Oh, true. That's true.
It was a quiet space. Like my greatest work, when people are like, I can't spend time alone, I don't like to be by myself, I'm the complete opposite. I want to be by myself. I want to be alone because that's where my entire creative process happens. And the creative process, not necessarily in creation, but even understanding myself and recreating me. Let's say it like that.
I love this. This is another topic because, if you talk about who we were and who we are.
Yes.
I know we've had this conversation too lately, like who we were yesterday, who we were 5 years ago, 10 years or 20 years ago is not the same person that we are today.
Right.
But people usually identify us as we were, not who we are,
yes.
Which is unfortunate. Remember, we had this as well. And, because we're all growing and we're all like, this is a human experience, right? And
And
we're
we're
all going through
expanding,
different
we're
things.
right.
And we're evolving, and it's okay not to be who we were and to lose that. But I think even for me, that's another thing that when I started going through this process, that was really important, because that's what I was doing. I was letting go of who I was and who everyone said I should be, or what everyone said I should be doing. And I was inside of me knowing what was right for me.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's really important. There's nothing wrong with like letting go of who we were. Who we were is comfortable, right? That's another thing. Sometimes in meditation, it's uncomfortable because you are going through thoughts and things and evolution of who you are. And I have found it, like I've told you, it wasn't always comfortable. There were times where it's uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I just feel like
And
meditation is
also
important for a
when
lot
you're
of reasons.
transitioning, even meditating where things are coming up, things are also coming up from the space of it's coming up with who you're moving into being or becoming. And even that in itself is uncomfortable because you, as much as you're excited about it and it's thrilling, because I'm a curious, more fun type person where, I'm curious. There is a scariness to it. Like, oh my goodness,
Of course,
this is not a comfortable feeling. It's not a familiar. That's the word I'm looking for. It's not a familiar feeling.
unfamiliar. Yeah.
Where I'm not liking in that meditative state and what's coming up with know thyself. It's kind of like I'm not really liking who I was, the agreement I made with myself and how I was going to experience life and interact with life over here. I'm coming out of that. And now I'm going to make a new agreement with myself and come into who I am. And I'm using the meditation as a vehicle and a way for me to move into transition into that. But it's so unfamiliar.
It is. And that's another thing. Like, so people, there's different reasons people say, I can't do it. I can't sit still. Like, there's so many reasons why people say they can't meditate. But I mean, if you look at it from a different perspective, I think everybody can meditate. I
Right.
just think that there's so much pressure put on certain things, like you should do it 20 minutes in the morning, 20 minutes at night, or like we've talked about. But I just
It's too
feel
formula
like,
oriented.
yeah, it's too rigid. But there should
Yes.
be no rigidity with meditation. Any
Right.
meditation is a good meditation as far as I'm concerned. And that's what I've heard over and over anyways. So, so any amount of time you can spend knowing yourself or being present inside of yourself, for me, I think is amazing. Whether it's a minute, 5 minutes, 20 minutes. If you can do 20 minutes, great.
Yeah.
There's days that I can't do 20 minutes. Some days I don't want to get out of bed to do my meditation. I will do my meditation in bed,
Right.
even
And
though,
there's some days, I don't know about you, there's some days I don't want to come out of my meditation
yeah,
where I'm like, wait a second, can't we stay here all day?
right, right. Yeah,
So I think there's
absolutely. And there's
varying
nothing wrong
degrees.
with that, right?
Yeah, it's a little bit more unrealistic, and I remember, and this, meditating for me, when I started out, I was the one that said, I'm not able to sit for 2 minutes. I'd fall asleep. Like I'd be looking for the first place. And I really contribute that. And this is why I think breathing is so important. I don't believe there was enough oxygen going to my brain. So
Yes.
I would sit down for 2 minutes and I wasn't breathing. And of course, I'm getting fatigued. There's no oxygen going to my brain. So if there's anything that I really believe that people should really incorporate into their daily lifestyle, even again, as you said, if it's a minute, 5 minutes in the morning, 2 minutes at night, is really to practice some breathing techniques so we can, from a physical perspective, get oxygen going to our brains, moving through our blood, just moving in our bodies.
Absolutely. And, when you breathe in, you're breathing in air and releasing the carbon dioxide, whatever, the carbon dioxide that is vital for life, right? So, and it calms you down. It brings your blood pressure down. It brings your heart rate down. It's really important things, right?
And that's why people talk about increasing energy when they meditate. But that's only because I believe they're breathing and oxygen's going to the brain, and then it's allowing them to really experience the entire meditative process.
I've never felt an elevated heart rate during meditation.
No,
I've never.
Increased
like I
energy
said,
in
I
terms of
felt
they don't
emotional.
Feel tired. They don't feel tired.
Oh yes, okay, yeah. You feel very relaxed, not tired.
Yes,
I would never say that I don't think I've left a meditation tired. The one thing I did, which was strange, though, when I first started meditating, and I was at that yoga and meditation retreat, I had a headache, and because you can overdo it as well. Like you're in your head, like, okay, I gotta meditate. It should be just a very no, because when you first start, you're not like, what do you do?
I know.
Right? Like, you're in your head about, okay, I have to meditate. Okay, I'm gonna close my eyes. I'm gonna sit with my palms up. I got my, I'm in my pose. Okay, I can do this. Okay, I can see colors. Okay, oh, look at that. Like, it's so like, because that's another thing. You'll see colors and like things will happen. But it's actually not that serious. It's just that's how I was taking it at the time. So I think it should be more like leisure and relaxed, as opposed to
what did you say in the very beginning? What was the breathing technique? It was what's his name? What does he call it?
Oh, 16 seconds of bliss.
Okay, let's treat meditation as bliss, right?
Oh, I love that. Yeah, exactly. And that's what it should be. He also uses terms like the sweet spot and stuff like that. I think some really cool things. But I really feel like that's the foundation of meditation is breathing. It's nothing else. And if you like mantra based, and I think mantra is really cool as well. I think it's really important because there's affirmations. Can you imagine your mind repeating to yourself, I am enough, for 5 or 10 minutes? All those things that we learned that we're not enough, and just repeating that over and over to bring that back to who we are and recognize that we are enough. So
did I hear it today that was it maybe you that said it today, was when we take the time to bring that into our life. So if you meditated, I'm enough and I'm enough, it actually diminishes all that other stuff. Like it doesn't leave room for that, because you've now created room for I'm enough, and it only can invite experiences into your life that reflect I'm enough.
I never said that, but I believe that it wasn't me. I'm not sure who you had that conversation with.
I might have been.
I wish I was part of that conversation. And you should have invited them to the show. Actually, that's really cool. I think that's really, I think that hits the nail on the head, to be honest, because we have all of these things that have diminished us or made us feel certain ways throughout the years through our traumas or things that people have told us or our experiences. And, when it's just like doing an affirmation, like mirror work or gratitude work. And, if you're telling yourself that you're grateful, then of course you're going to feel in that elevated state of gratefulness. It makes sense, right?
Yes.
So if you're going to keep telling yourself, I am enough over and over again, you will start feeling like you are enough. I mean, we have years of people telling us we weren't, or feeling like we weren't. And it's not like an overnight process. Like, this is a life experience. We got to just keep going with the flow and keep going as we go. But I think that's important. And if you're looking and another thing that you can do is when you're breathing, you can breathe in love and breathe out hate. Like if you're really hating on someone because something happened, like you can take your meditation. That's
powerful.
You can take a meditation any way you want. So if you take your breath and you breathe in love and you breathe out hate. So you take in the love and you let go of the hate, or the whatever you want.
Or you can do joy and pain. Breathe in the joy and pain. Release the pain. Right.
It can be anything. So there's no rules per se, right? So that's what I think is the real takeaway from this, that there should be no rules. But I think we should get to the quick meditation that I'm going to do.
Yes,
and then
I was going to say
about it for a few minutes, right?
Just before you get into the meditation, I just want to say that I'd love to see us become childlike when we're doing our meditations, where we're just free with nothing attached to it. And I say that because I've watched my own kids. One daughter had a nut allergy and another daughter had psoriasis. And I told them when they were little girls that it would go away. Just put their hand over it, pray over it, and say, thank you for going away. And we took my one daughter to have a nut allergy testing, and all of a sudden she was no longer allergic to almonds, for instance. And now she eats almonds all the time. And she never spoke outside of that being the truth, that, one day I'll be eating nuts, no big deal. She believed it innocently, blindly. That's all her world was, even though her reality showed that she had a nut allergy.
That's crazy,
the
right?
reality in
But
her
that's what
mind.
I'm saying to you, that if
And
you can put those thoughts, not just in meditation, like if you practice like affirmations, and
yes,
meditation's really important because you can really go inside,
you
right?
can warp speed it ahead through that
Yeah,
process. And my other
exactly.
daughter, same thing with psoriasis. One day she looked at me a year later and she says, "Look, mommy, it's gone." And I said, "What?" And I said, "I told you, you guys are powerful." So if we can, as that grown-ups, get back to that state, I think it would be wonderful. Okay, so let's get into our meditation.
Okay, so the only thing that I'm going to ask is that whoever is watching gets in a comfortable position. If you have trouble in a seated position, that's okay. Lie down. Whatever relaxing position you choose is fine, as long as it makes you feel comfortable, and it's completely pain-free. So take some time, find your space. If you're sitting up, keep your shoulders relaxed and close your eyes if you can. If you find it difficult to close your eyes, though, you can leave them open and lower your gaze towards the floor. So let's start off by taking a deep breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. Again, in through your nose and out through your mouth. Now I want you to just breathe. Breathe as you normally would. There's nothing special to do and nothing special to make happen. Focus your attention to the physical sensation of each breath. You may notice the air moving in and out through your nose and mouth, or you may notice the rising and falling of your abdomen or chest. Breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. Remember to be kind to your busy mind. Your attention will wander because that's what it does. Almost immediately, and many times over and over again, we will find ourselves distracted. It's normal during meditation and in life. Without judgment, return your attention back to the sensation in breathing, in through your nose and out through your mouth. In through your nose and out through your mouth. When your mind wanders, gently return it, noticing your breath. If something grabs your attention, a phone ringing, a clock ticking, a dog barking, notice that it has happened and let it go as best as you can. And again, come back to your breath. Breathing in through your nose and out through your mouth. Come back to the breath without expecting anything more. Remember that there is nothing to do or fix. Sometimes our mind remains busy and caught up during meditation. Noticing that, practice patience. We cannot force our minds into stillness, and that's never the intention. Right now in this moment, there is nothing to do or fix. Breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. Whether you find the experience pleasant, unpleasant, or otherwise, allow everything to be as it is. Always returning to your breath. Breathing in and breathing out. When you are ready, gently open your eyes and pause for a moment. How do you feel in this moment?
I'm very aware that I just ate dinner. I'm breathing and I'm like, this is why they say do not meditate.
On a full stomach. I know I've told you that before, but I don't want to be the person to tell you not to meditate. Anytime's a good time for meditation. So you were
Right.
aware of what was in your stomach.
Because I'm breathing and I'm like, and
I'm full.
I want, and that, like, now I'm excited because I'm like, yes, I'm just talking about like my whole 2021, mandate for myself and self-love is going to be the intentional breathing. And I'm like, yeah, but it's now teaching me that you really can't eat before you meditate.
If you're doing a true meditation practice and you really want to do this, I mean, the best time is when you wake up.
Right.
The RPM, rise, P, meditate. That's what they taught us. And I do find that meditation is, for me, the best in the morning. And mindfulness throughout the day really helps you still be
Oh, okay.
present, right?
Right.
I don't meditate twice a day. I find it that I'm just busy, and I've also been told if you're too busy to meditate, then you're the one who should be meditating more. But
Are we talking to ourselves now?
yeah, I know. I've been told that's one of the things that I heard as well. But honestly, I feel like that's the best time. And like I said, sometimes I don't feel like getting out of bed, and I will just lie there and meditate.
I think that I would love for the audience to write me or message me and answer to me whether or not you feel then if we should put Teresa up for a challenge to guide us through a 21-day meditation in the morning and at night for 5 minutes.
Love to do that. We could do it like in the morning when we pick a time. And we could do it in the evening too, because that might bring me back to my evening practice, which, has been like
I always like to subtly put people on, like, in their little accountability. Well, if we give them a task, and I like when you guys give me tasks too, because it's kind of like it helps us along, and we're benefiting from it as well with your techniques. So I'm just throwing it out there. And if you guys see something posted, it's because Teresa took me up on it.
I will definitely consider that. If that's something that your audience wants to do, we can definitely do that.
Yeah.
I think when you have accountability too, and you're doing it with other people, I think it's more profound. And I'm telling you based on experience, how profound it has been when I've been in a group setting with a meditation. We saw it in our circles, how profound some of those meditations were. And, I feel, that might be a good thing, but let's see.
Because so many things are going to come out of it, right? It's not just the state of meditation. We're at least, we always know the good things come out of anything that involves working on thyself and loving thyself and expanding thyself and evolving, is all good.
Exactly. And if I can leave one thing there, and if you can't, and you still feel like you can't, and you don't want to call it meditation, just say that you're starting, you're starting to breathe. So just breathe. And if nothing else, try to work on being present. And if that means that you're in the shower and you're feeling like the soap on your hands in that moment, or you're washing dishes and you're feeling the warm water, or you're brushing your hair and you're feeling your hair, try to be more present. If you're eating, try to taste the food. I mean, I'm notorious for I'm just wolfing my food down.
We're all cut and swallow.
Right. And so if we can be more present in those moments, that really helps us throughout our day as well. And allows things to be more pleasant experience. And being present it's a beautiful thing. Right. Nature. And if you can I know we've said this, if you can get into nature, I know it's cold now, and well, at least where we are.
Oh, where we are.
Yeah. And so if you can't if you can get into nature is very meditative. The sounds, the relaxation, the glory that was given to us, the beauty of it all. Is very meditative. So that's another thing that you can do.
Thank you for that, because I think people appreciate that, our audience, to those of you in the audience that you're not at that place where you're ready for meditation, but can take on a small step of just breathing or just being mindful. Teresa, I think that's great advice, because oftentimes our intentions is we'd like to do it either for whatever reason, and I'm not going to say everybody knows whatever their personal reasons are, that they're not able to grasp it or embrace it necessarily at this stage. There are other things that you can do that will put you on the road. So when you're ready, you can start meditative practices.
Yeah, so no really good. It shouldn't be pressure, and it shouldn't be daunting. It really is simple. It's just someone needs to tell us that, right? Because people do, sometimes we take things so seriously that we just can't get out of that, oh my goodness, I have to meditate, I have to sit there. Like so really small steps and
And
that's the
Teresa's
best way to
really,
do it.
you're so good for that, which is, Tanya, take the small steps. It's not that complicated. It's
Yeah.
really simple. Just be gentle on yourself. Don't worry, sweetie. It's all working out. I could hear your
Yeah.
voice in there.
Yeah.
This is how
Exactly.
Teresa talks. Okay. Very
Exactly.
loving, very nurturing. So I love it. Teresa, thank you for joining us yet again. And I look forward to you coming back. Teresa will be back anchoring the last show for the year on December 23rd. And I look forward to her being here on December 23rd, joining us in anchoring our last show for 2020. And we will let you know shortly what that is going to be. So you guys, thank you for joining us this evening. Teresa, as always, it's been great. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. It's
Yeah,
been great. Thank you.
And we look forward to Teresa getting back to us and letting us know as a audience family at Tanya Talks, our Meditative 2021 Challenge. Sure.
Let's do it.
Yes. If you're looking for great conversations that are going to help you clear the path to get your life to the next level, please visit TanyaRicketts.com. It was a pleasure, everybody, and good night.
Good night.
Good night, T.
Good night.